On today's Smart 7, things get tense at the COVID inquiry. Hundreds killed and wounded in Israeli strike and lots more. It's Wednesday, 1st of November, it's World Vegan Day, and happy birthday, David Schwimmer.
The Smart 7. It's news, but
Not the news.
You called ministers useless pigs, morons.
That was from an email sent by Dominic Cummings, former chief advisor to Boris Johnson, which was read out at the COVID inquiry on Tuesday. It was a day full of swearing. In fact, it's a pity the inquiry didn't have a swear jar, as they'd have covered a significant amount of their costs after Tuesday's testimony. The inquiry heard from two of Boris's inner circle as they were walked through the major events of 2020, with the dawn of the pandemic and the first phase of lockdown. Cummings in particular was scathing about his colleagues at the time, and inquiry KC Hugo Keith wanted to know if he felt his own tone contributed to the overall lack of effectiveness of ministers.
My appalling language is obviously my own, but my judgment of a lot of senior people was widespread.
Boris Johnson must have cringed as he watched descriptions of his incompetence, as Cummings explained why everyone referred to him as a trolley, along with this half-hearted endorsement from his former Director of Communications, Lee Cain.
What will probably be clear in COVID, it was the wrong crisis for this Prime Minister's skill set, which is different, I think, from not potentially being up to the job of being Prime Minister.
Israel continued its assault on Hamas and Gaza on Tuesday, with an Israeli airstrike killing and wounding hundreds in a refugee camp in Jabalia. The IDF says that the strike killed a major Hamas figure, battalion commander Ibrahim Biari, and many other terrorists. Rishi Sunak spoke by phone with the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, asking him to take all possible precautions to minimise civilian casualties and to speed up the flow of humanitarian aid. Labour leader Sir Keir Starmer also spoke about the conflict on Tuesday, clarifying his stance on why he believes any military action needs to have a limited time span.
Neither the long-term security of Israel nor long-term justice for Palestine can be delivered by bombs and bullets. Open-ended military action is ultimately futile.
Former Israeli ambassador to the UN, Dan Gillerman, says that while he understands the calls for a ceasefire, the priority has to be ending the threat from Hamas.
It's an interesting question because I think it could possibly help some of these civilians, but at the same time, it would also help Hamas to regroup, to get more arms or to do things which are, which would help them in the war.
Next week is set to be a big week for the Trump family, as Donald, Ivanka and brothers Don Jr. and Eric are all expected to take the stand in their New York civil fraud trial. But all eyes are on a much bigger legal case. That's the one being brought by special counsel Jack Smith, which sees Trump facing federal charges of trying to obstruct the results of the 2020 election. That case stepped up a gear last week, with news that Trump's chief of staff at the time of the election and insurrection, Mark Meadows, has agreed to testify against his former boss. Meadows was central to the many attempts by Trump and his team to overturn the election results, and former New Jersey Governor Chris Christie is emphatic that this January 6th case is the one thing that will put an end to Donald's presidential hopes.
This is a guy who was Velcroed to Trump's hip for the entire 2020 campaign, and so this is deadly. It's done. He's going to be convicted.
But
it's over.
US Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin and Secretary of State Anthony Blinken both appeared before a US Senate hearing on Tuesday. They were there to make the case for Joe Biden's proposed $105 billion aid package for Ukraine that has been stalled by the ongoing arguments in Congress. Even with a new Speaker of the House, MAGA Republicans continue to delay the aid package, and even aid for Israel has been stalled as they argue over funding for the IRS. Both men warned that without continued US support, there's a real risk that Russia will win the war. Minority Leader of the Senate, Republican Mitch McConnell, has made it very clear where he stands on the issue.
So this is not just a test for Ukraine. It's a test for the United States and for the free world. And the path toward greater security for all of us is simple. Help Ukraine win the war.
Still to come on the Smart 7, Jada Pinkett Smith opens up and Arsenal are up for the cup. Right after this.
Botox Cosmetic, out of botulinum toxin A, FDA approved for over 20 years. So, talk to your specialist to see if Botox Cosmetic is right for you.
For full prescribing information, including boxed warning, visit BotoxCosmetic.com or call 877-351-0300.
Remember to ask for Botox Cosmetic by name. To see for yourself and learn more, visit BotoxCosmetic.com. That's BotoxCosmetic.com.
Welcome back.
This week sees the last 16 in the Carabao Cup battle it out for a spot in the quarter-finals. Tuesday night saw Exeter lose to Middlesbrough and Mansfield knocked out by Port Vale. Wednesday sees a host of Premier League sides in action as Man United face Newcastle, along with Chelsea, Everton and current champions Liverpool. One of the big ties sees West Ham welcome Arsenal, and manager Mikel Arteta is looking forward to seeing Declan Rice return to his old stomping ground.
I think it's beautiful. I think I had the experience to do it a few times, and then you really see what they think of you and what you left at the club, and it's a really good way to measure your experience and your reality within the reality of the people that share moments with you.
They're the couple who inspired the most ridiculous Oscar moment ever. They're Jada Pinkett Smith and her Chris Rock-slapping husband Will. It's safe to say that their actual relationship seems to be complicated. Jada's been busy promoting her new 400-page memoir called Worthy. In it, she tells a story of a pretty traumatic upbringing, describing herself as a child of 2 addicts. But when it comes to Will, she wasn't giving much away.
Will and I have decided to be in a relationship that fits what we desire, and so we had our separation, and then the Oscars came, and we are definitely on a different trajectory, but I would not say that it's in a traditional way.
There's a new movie coming to Sky Cinema this weekend. It's called The Last Rifleman, and it's based on the true story of a World War II veteran who managed to escape from his care home and made it all the way to France for the D-Day commemorations. The movie version stars Pierce Brosnan as veteran Artie Jones. He's almost unrecognisable as he's been aged by 22 years, to make him 92. It's a feel-good drama and it drops this Sunday on Sky.
War veteran escapes old folks home to meet his army buddies in France. The Last Rifleman. People will love it.
It is a miracle that you made it this far. You are quite the soldier, Monsieur Crawford.
You've been listening to The Smart 7. We'll be back tomorrow at 7 a.m. Hit that follow button and have a great day.
Give us 7 minutes and we'll give you the world.